Welcome back. This is our fourth installment of Cooking with Jim. Tonight we're going to talk about making some homemade pasta. Now, we're going to do what's called gnocchi. There's a couple of different ways you can call gnocchi. I've seen it gnocchi and gnocchilis, and we called it gnocchi. My grandmother on my father's side used to make these all the time. They were great. So this is going to be one of the easiest pastas that you can make. You don't need a machine. All you need is your hands, and it's basically three ingredients. As I told you before, I use leftover mashed potatoes. So I made a batch of mashed potatoes last night. Some people like to cook them fresh and rice them in a potato ricer. I like just using regular mashed potatoes, leftover mashed potatoes. Everybody usually makes them, and there's always leftovers. So what I have here is mashed potato, and in my mashed potato I use butter, salt and pepper, and a little bit of heavy cream. So again, this is going to be very, very easy, and I'm going to try to get this up on my other thing here. So if anybody has any questions, they can ask them while we're going, and I'll try to answer them. Hold on one second, just give me a minute. Modern technology. Come on. Almost there. All right, well, if any questions, I have my friend Mike who's videotaping. We all remember Mike. Mike has been with me for a long time. He's a good friend of mine. Mike's a teacher, and unfortunately he's been at home with his wife and daughter for the past month in quarantine.
Unfortunately?
Well, fortunately. But he's a good friend. If you remember correctly, he was also the one who videotaped me when I went into the water and forgot to turn the camera on, so I had to do it twice. So, and it's great because once we're done, we'll get to eat all the what we made. So here we have regular mashed potatoes. I'm not going to use them all because I did make a lot. Mashed potatoes, as I said, have a little bit of heavy cream, butter, salt and pepper, and this is basically a 3-ingredient dish. And I'm using the counter because I like to work with the the granite. It's a nice clean surface, and it's very easy to roll afterwards, roll the pasta. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take 2 eggs, and I am going to just use the yolk. So I'm going to take the whites out. Here's the whites, just the yolk of 2 eggs. Very easy to do. So we have our mashed potato and our egg yolk. And we start with this, and then we're going to use just regular all-purpose flour. And we'll start adding a little flour at a time. You can always add a little, and then you just work it in. And we're going to make a dough out of this. So these are gnocchilis. As I said, you need a nice pot of hot rolling water. And what that will do is, these are going to be like little velvet pillows. And I'm going to make 2 different types of sauces with these today. I'm going to make a brown butter and sage sauce. And I'm also going to make a little bit of Alfredo sauce. Because in my house, a lot of people like different meals, so I cook pretty much to taste for everybody. So you just work it in, you keep working it in. You want to get the right consistency.
Room temperature eggs?
Room temperature eggs, and also room temperature mashed potatoes. Okay, you don't want them hot and you don't want them cold. So I left these on the counter for a good hour. All right, it's starting to come to the right consistency, but we're going to use a little bit more. And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. And you just keep adding a little bit of, you don't want to add too much flour because you never can take it away, but you can always add more if you need it. So we're just working it in. And then I have a little scraper here. You can use a spatula or metal spatula if you don't have one of these. And what you see in here, little brown specks, that is some of the skin of the potato, or maybe some of the pepper from the salt and pepper of the mashed potatoes. And we're not quite there yet. You can tell when it's ready because it'll stop. You want to roll it. It's not quite there yet, so we're going to add a little bit more flour. And this is basically to feel. It's going to feel like a regular dough. If we were making any other type of pasta, you'd need a machine to roll it out. We're getting there. Some of the other pastas that we use, you need leveling, some sort of leveling agents, you know, like a baking soda or baking powder sometimes. But this is, like I said, it's a 3-ingredient dish. And it's coming along nice, it's getting there. We're almost there. I can almost feel the consistency, just a little bit more flour. Yeah, it's almost there. Just fold it into each other and knead it like you're kneading bread dough. Okay, the dough's there. It's ready. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to clean this area up real quick here. You can use a cutting board to do this. You can also mix that in a mixing bowl. But like I said, I like using this. I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Okay. You want to get your hands nice and dry because you don't want to add any more moisture to the dough. Can you want to come over and see the water there for a second? Okay. Good. Now what you want to do is you want to put a little bit of flour on your surface. Keep it off to the side. You're going to use that afterwards. Then I'm going to take my cutter, cut a little piece off, and then you're going to roll it like a snake. You're going to see how nice and the consistency of that is, and just keep rolling it, rolling it. Got a little bit of egg there. Get that over there. And for those of you who can see, I'm sporting my law enforcement torch run shirt. We had a little Zoom meeting the other night, and this is for Mary Beth. Mary Beth, this is the shirt that we used at one of our conferences. So we're going to put that off to the side. We're going to cut another little section. Put a little flour down. And we're going to continue to roll them out. Mike, would you please just grab me a fork from that? A big fork. Second one over right there. Excellent. So we're going to roll these out like little snakes. Okay, that's 2. Time consuming, but fun. And these cook super, super fast. As I said before, these are going to be like little velvet pillows. And you want to make sure that the water's boiling really strong. And you don't want to put too many in, because if you put too many in, you're going to cool down the water. So we're only going to cook small batches at a time. A little bit more flour. You want to use the palms of your hands. You get that? Okay. That's a lot of them for now. That's gonna be quite a few. In a side pan, I can take a little bit of flour and just, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the gnocchi, we're gonna put them in this pan before we cook them. I made these last week for the house. This is a little bit of corn, oh, that's the cornstarch, not that one. Okay. So we have the flour. Next we take one of our rolls of pasta. We're going to cut little inch pieces. See that? Just take it. Very easy. They're about an inch wide. My grandmother used to take these and just use her thumb to make a little bit of an indent, and the reason for that is the indent holds the sauce. I like using a fork, gives it a little bit of a design. So that's a perfect gnocchi right there. Put it in the flour, and again, next one, next one, next one. See how easy this is? We're going to keep doing it, keep making them. Take these. And the other day when I made these, what I did was I took these pans when they were done, when they were full, and I dropped them in the freezer because I didn't want to use them right away. I used them the next day. So I would put them right in the freezer just like that, cover them with a little saran wrap, and then take them out and cook them frozen because like I said, these are going to cook so quick. If you've had gnocchis in a restaurant, a gourmet restaurant or Italian restaurant, they look just like that, right? Perfect. That's what the fork does. Fork is that little bit of a... And what the fork does, it gives little nooks and crannies for the sauce to catch. If they were just flat, the sauce would roll right off them, but the sauce will catch right inside. Take your next one and do the same. How much easy is that? Little pillows. Like I said, they look like little pillows. Little velvet pillows.
How much makes a serving?
Well, that was a half a cup of mashed potatoes. You could feed probably 4 adults with what we're going to make here. Maybe even more if I used all that. You can, if you made the sauce or the gravy that we made last week, and you have any in the freezer, perfect time. You can use the gravy for these. Please, like I said, I want this to be interactive. So if you have any other questions, Mike will just read them off to me, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Tonight we're also going to do, after this, we're going to do a shrimp scampi. I've got a lot of requests for shrimp scampi. This is kind of a little too... I didn't like the thickness of that one. So, I mean, you can play with this dough to do everything you want. See that? How easy that was to reform it? Same thing. Done. Take your fork, roll them out. And like I said, my nani, which we used to call her, she used to use her thumb and made an indent. I was talking to my brother today, and he was telling me when he was a young kid, he remembers Nani making these all the time, and she would just use the thumb to make the nooks and crannies. And you, like I said, you want to put it on some flour so they don't stick. This is fun. When my grandkids come over, we've made spaghetti sauce and gravy together. Next time they come over, I'm going to make these and have them help me. I really enjoy cooking with my grandkids. and I keep saying this every episode, and I really mean it. This is not for everybody. There's a lot of great cooks out there, but I want to tell you, over the past week, after I made the gravy last week, some of the questions that I got from people, it's evident that not everybody cooks. And we'll talk a little bit about the shrimp in a little while. And if my friend Andrea's watching, we'll go over the shrimp portion of it. Take little. Okay. I mean, I think you get the gist of it here. Very easy. I don't want to bore you making this whole thing. I'll finish that later. If you don't use it all, you can wrap that up in saran wrap, put it in the refrigerator, and if you want to use it again tomorrow, just make sure that you take it out in time and let it rest. So let me just finish these. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to start making the sauce that we're going to have with these. I'm going to do two kinds of sauces with these. One's going to be a brown butter and sage, and the other one's going to be an Alfredo. And both super, super easy. Anybody have any questions before I move on to the sauce?
Actually, Nicole does. She wanted to know when the dough is the right texture. You're going by feel, but is there a better test that somebody could use?
Yeah, the test is basically when you take the dough and you roll it out. If it rolls evenly and doesn't break apart and doesn't fall apart, then the consistency's there.
If it's sticking, you add more flour?
If it's sticking, add a little bit more flour. If it's too dry, you can add another egg, or you can see that? Okay. Now, the most important part of this whole cooking process for these is make sure you salt your water very, very good. Boiling water. And you want to stay a rapid boil.
What would you say, that was a tablespoon or so? Or?
That was probably 2 tablespoons of regular table salt. The gnocchi itself doesn't really have a lot of taste. It tastes like plain pasta. So, I'm going to take these over here for a minute. Before I do that, I'm going to start on my sauces. Very, very easy. Get your pans nice and hot. The first one we're going to do is a brown butter sauce. And the other one we're going to do is an Alfredo sauce. That's about 3 tablespoons or 4 tablespoons of butter. And as I said, we're doing 2 separate pans. So for the Alfredo, which is going to be the back one, butter, a little bit of olive oil. The front one, the brown butter and sage, just a little bit of olive oil. You want to get these pans nice and hot. This is fresh sage. So for the brown butter and sage, you want to use about 6 or 7 nice pieces of sage. It's going to give them a nice nutty flavor with the brown butter. And I'm going to get the pans and the sauces ready, because once I put these gnocchis in here, they only take less than, I'd say, a minute to cook. So for our Alfredo sauce, I'm just going to put a hint of garlic in that, just a hint.
About a teaspoon?
Not even, that's about a half a teaspoon. They call it brown butter. What you do is you get this butter very, very hot, but to a point where it's not burnt. The Alfredo sauce is getting a little too hot, so I'm going to take that off for a second. See how quick that cooked? Now all the Alfredo is that mixture there with some heavy cream. That's about, I'd say a good half a pint of heavy cream. And I just made a mess. Sorry about that. Okay, that's done. I'm going to shut the back one off and I'm going to shut the front one off now. Both of these are very, very nice. So we're going to start taking our gnocchi. Drop them in. And this is really not a lot, so I guess I can put these all in right now. And what they're going to do is they're going to start to cook. And once they float to the surface, they're basically done. See the way the water stopped boiling? You want to make sure that you don't put too much in to cool the water off too much. Okay, we squished one. Our Alfredo sauce is cooking. I'm going to put a little bit of salt, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And another seasoning that I like to use in the brown butter sauce is tarragon leaves. Between the sage and tarragon, and that's about a half a teaspoon there. Oh. Okay. Oh, see the way they're coming up really nice? They're almost done. Let that come to a boil and they'll be done. Once these are done, I'll turn this back on for a second, and basically the little bit of flour that was in here is going to thicken this up. You can smell the sage and tarragon. See the consistency and the color of the butter? That's brown butter. It's going to be delicious. Okay, we're starting to get a good boil. Put our flame back on. Now our Alfredo. Two more of these. Shut that up for now. I can see that these are so nice. Sometimes if you use too much flour, they call them sinkers, they're like weights, but these are not. These are nice and fluffy. I think we got them all. 1, 2 more. Okay. See the way that's thickening up because of the flour? Turn this one in the back on. This is grated Romano cheese. There's nothing like fresh Romano. If you buy that stuff in the package, that Parmesan, buy a piece of Romano cheese in the grocery store and grate it yourself.
Would you add Parmesan as well, or?
You can add Parmesan. I prefer Romano as my favorite cheese. So the gnocchi and brown butter and sage and tarragon. See the way that's thickening up from the cream? You need a lot of nice grated cheese and a good Alfredo sauce. Normally I would put some parsley in here, some fresh parsley or some parsley flakes, but the wife doesn't like parsley, so see the way that thickened up? I didn't add anything to it. That's just from the cream and the flour on the gnocchi. Come on, let's taste this, see how this one is. Wow. That just melts in your mouth. These are amazing. They're so light and airy. I'm going to throw these over here because, as you know, after we cook, we eat. Alfredo, some gnocchi. Very easy dish to make. I'm going to clean up my mess here real quick. And then we're going to get right into our shrimp scampi. Okay, as I told you on the shopping list, my shrimp scampi, I like to use Angel here, but I went to Market Basket and they didn't have any. So what I did is I pre-cooked some thin spaghetti, put it in cold water, so it's all ready to go. So the spaghetti's ready. So when you cook your shrimp scampi, make sure you have your pasta done already, because just as quick as the gnocchi went, the shrimp scampi is just as quick. These are U16 shrimp. They're called U16 because it means 16 shrimp per pound. And I like to keep the tails on them. They're easy to pick up to eat them. So they come like this, fully with all the skin and all the shells on it. They come cut, but if they didn't, all you do is you take a knife and you run it around the back. Okay, open it up, and then hold the tail area and just peel the shell away. So Andrea, these are the grayish pinky color shrimp that I was talking to you about last night, and that you said ooh, but these are really good. So again, just hold the tail, hold the shrimp, hold the tail.
So these were already deveined?
These were already deveined, yes. Normally, if they were not, to devein a shrimp, you would take the knife, run it along the back, and there's a black vein that runs through the back of the shrimp. You just peel that, it'll come right out. But these were already pre-deveined. I bought these at Market Basket in the freezer section. They come already cut, already deveined. Just, all you have to do is just take the shell off. I already pre-rinsed these earlier, and what I do is I make sure that they're nice and dry. So I'll take a paper towel and I'll dry them off really well. Get your pan nice and hot. This is regular butter. This is a garlic butter I made a few weeks ago, and I wrapped it up in saran wrap and put it in the freezer, and then you can cut it off. You can use it for garlic bread, you can use it for scampi. It's basically garlic, parsley, some chives, and butter. Let the butter get soft, mix it together, and then just add it in. But today we're just going to use the regular salted butter. We're going to use a little bit of olive oil. So we have 2 ingredients so far, butter and olive oil. Then we're going to take some chopped garlic. I like to use fresh garlic a lot, but this is easier. Just a good heaping tablespoon of garlic.
There's a request to have a studio audience once the coronavirus is over.
Once the coronavirus is over, we will definitely have a cooking show and tasting afterwards. Also, within the next couple of weeks, in my backyard I have a pizza oven right from Italy, and we're going to make some homemade pizzas right from scratch. Okay, so we take our shrimp, lay them in. These, again, very quick dish to make. You don't want to crowd them because you want them to cook evenly. So I wouldn't just dump this whole thing on top. Okay, they don't all fit, so that's good. Let me grab my tongs. Let this cook. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add just a little bit of lemon zest as they're cooking. Just a fresh lemon. You can add just a little bit of the juice from a fresh lemon also. Salt, a little bit of pepper, next again I use a little bit of chicken broth. My water's almost to temperature. Let's get some pasta going. Just drop that right in for a minute. Okay. As you can see, once they start to pinken up, you can start turning them over. Don't those look good? Nice plump shrimp. I don't like the small ones. I like to use U16s. They're a good shrimp to eat. Even if you get a little bit of crust on there, it's just like when you sear a scallop. They're really good. Okay, we're starting to a little bit of chicken broth. Okay. Now, this is a little trick of the trade. I'm going to show you how to thicken this sauce up really easy. I'm going to lower this for a minute so I can get my cornstarch going. This is regular cornstarch. We're going to use about a tablespoon. Okay, about a tablespoon of cornstarch. And the secret of this is you don't use hot water, you use cold water. So we're going to take just a little bit of the water, and we're going to make a slurry. Okay? That's perfect right there. A little bit of cornstarch and water, slurry. What this is going to do is, once I turn this back on, my shrimp are almost there. I would say another 30 seconds, the shrimp will be ready. You want to make sure that they're not translucent in the middle. You want to make sure they're a nice pinkish color all the way through. And the secret behind the cornstarch is make sure you get a good boil. See the way that's really nice, okay? Now all you're going to do is you're going to take that slurry and watch how quick this works. Shut your heat off and you're done. So we take our pasta, It's in the water. I'll get that out in a minute. Strain it really good because I don't like watery pasta. Okay. All that nice juices goes through the pasta. Some people don't like putting cheese on fish, but I love Romano cheese on my fish. Voila. Shrimp scampi and gnocchis. Well, as you can see, we have a nice dinner ahead of us. Thank you again for tuning in. I enjoy doing it, but the only way I'm going to keep doing this is if you keep saying you want it done. So if you want me to continue to do it, give us some suggestions on what you want cooked. I know there's a lot of people out there who want the eggplant parm, and we'll start on those. We'll do that next time. And also, I was asked about stuffed artichokes. Really easy to make. I've been using my stuffed artichokes and making them in a pressure cooker. My mother used to make them on the stove in a pan, and she constantly put the water in, and as the water would evaporate, she'd add more water. But if you could put those in a pressure cooker for an hour, they fall apart. They're like butter. So, bon appetit. Until next week, thank you for joining us, and it's been fun. Thanks. Bye.